The story begins with a man named Frank Perry, imprisoned in jail, who was immersed in some serious thoughts at that time, and it was clear from his face that he was going to do something that he had never done before. And after some time, Frank came out of his room and reached the room of the most dreaded prisoner of the jail, Ridge. On the other hand, in the laundry room of the jail, 4 prisoners were trying to escape from the jail. They immediately removed the drain cover and made a hole in the ground through which they got down one by one. But Bree was waiting there for a long time for her special friend Frank. Actually, the plan of all of them was to escape with Frank, but at the last moment, Lacey reached there instead of Frank. After waiting for his friend for some time, Broad also finally jumped into that pit, but he had unknowingly forgotten his hat there. After some time, Frank also finally reached there, who was in a very injured condition, and he immediately picked up Brad's hat and jumped into that pit. Actually, a few months ago, Frank was living a normal life in the jail like the other prisoners, where his job was to save the jail. Frank had to wash clothes in the laundry room. Frank had accepted this life to a great extent because he was serving a life sentence in that jail, and he had no hope of getting out. So what option did he have other than considering this jail as his world? He spent most of his time alone. Frank also kept a distance from the most dreaded prisoner of the jail, Riza. After spending so much time in jail, Frank had made some friends, and one day when Frank came back to the room after finishing his work, he saw that his partner was packing his stuff. Actually, his sentence was over, and he was ready to go back to his home. On the other hand, all the other prisoners were standing to see the new batch coming to the jail, who were being brought after applying an antibacterial powder. Along with this, those prisoners were not wearing anything except underwear, and the happiest to see, this was Riza's brother Tony, because he had been in jail for so long that being a man, he had no problem in loving a man, and he also enjoyed teasing the prisoners, and now his eyes were fixed on a new boy named Lacey. After some time, all the prisoners were sent to their respective rooms, and now Lacey had become Frank's new partner, and Frank was not particularly interested in her because when Lacey tried to talk to him, Frank ignored her. That evening, Frank received a letter. Actually, Frank had been writing letters to his family for the last 14 years, in the hope that perhaps someday his daughter would definitely reply to his letter. But in the last 14 years, he did not receive a single reply, and the letter that came today was also from his wife, in which she told that actually his daughter was admitted in the hospital due to drug overdose, and she may die any time. On hearing this news, Frank's whole world turned upside down because the person whom he loved the most was now standing on the threshold of death. This thing was eating Frank from inside, and that is why after some time he reached the prison church, where seeing his condition, a guard opened the door for him, even at such a late hour. After this, Frank went to the confession box, where he took out that letter and started crying loudly. And now he wanted to meet his daughter for the last time at any cost. Next morning, while working in the laundry, Frank's eyes suddenly fell on the iron mesh behind the washing machine, just above which there were some iron pipes which took Nee out of the jail. But this thing laid the foundation of a very big plan in Frank's mind. After some time, Frank met his closest friend Broad, during which he asked Bree if the air vents in the machine were connected to the prison's pig system, and Bree was very surprised to hear such a thing from his friend. But then Frank showed him his wife's letter, after reading which Frank wanted to get out of this jail at any cost, that too as soon as possible, and for this he needed help. Actually, Broad had a lot of experience in digging tunnels, because he had dug a tunnel under the jail before this, and after thinking for a while, he agreed to support Frank, because he himself was serving a life sentence in that jail. After a few days, Frank met a dangerous boxer named Lenny, who at that time was a boxer. He should have been out on parole, but Frank's previous cellmate had acquitted him, due to which his parole was cancelled, and now he was very eager for revenge, which Frank was going to take advantage of, after which he told Lenny about his plan. Frank had come to him because Lenny was an expert in using any tool which could be of great benefit to them. Lenny was initially reluctant, but after thinking for a while, he agreed to it. After this, Frank held a meeting with his other 2 companions where they were discussing their plan while pretending to play something, and they had only one way to escape, which was through the laundry room. But to reach there, they had to cross 3 secure doors. But Frank also had another way. Actually, when Frank went to the confession box, he noticed the walls of that room, which were very light, and now according to Frank, they could break the confession box and enter the laundry room from where they would reach the prison's pig system directly by breaking the air vents. But for this, first of all, it was necessary to cut the iron plate on the air vents. That very night, as soon as the lights of the jail went off, he started his work, and he cut the iron pipes of his room and connected them with a screw which he was going to use to cut the iron plate. On the other hand, Frank went to meet the biggest prisoner of the jail, Tootin, and Frank challenged Tootin for a boxing match on behalf of Lenny. On the other hand, the plan of Frank and his companions was also moving forward rapidly, and now they knew their route very well, which went through the air vent to the drainage system, from where moving forward they were going to reach a river, after crossing which a railway station was going to come from where their freedom could start. But they also knew that there was a current of 650 volts in those railway tracks, and if they did not cross them in time, then they would all be killed. After discussing their entire plan, they decided to get out of this jail after 3 days, but they did not know that Tony was standing above and watching them, and he understood from the expressions of those 3. It was believed that they were going to do something big. That very night, all the prisoners gathered in the canteen to watch the match between Tootin and Lenny. Actually, Tootin was very strong, and he started beating Lenny badly, but as soon as he got the right chance, Lenny punched him hard on his face, due to which a diamond tooth fell out of Tootin's mouth. Lenny picked up the tooth and kept it with himself before the guards arrived. After this, he attached that diamond tooth to his pipe, which he had made the night before. The next day, Tony asked Frank some questions about his plan in the bathroom, and when he did not get any answer, he asked Frank to keep the door of his room open and also promised to come to his room the next day. When Frank told this to his companions, their confidence wavered a bit because they all knew that even if they wanted, they could not say anything to Tony because he was Riza's brother. But they also knew that if they did not do anything, their plan would definitely be ruined. And that is why Frank asked for permission from all of them to bring a new man in the team, who the only person who could help them at this time was Viv Batista. Batista was actually a prisoner, whose job was to supply drugs in very small quantities to the prisoners. And in fact, he used to do this work in collaboration with the government, so that gradually the quantity of drugs could be reduced and the prisoners could be made to get rid of their addiction. The next day, Frank put an offer in front of Batista, according to which if Batista helps them and calms Tony down in any way, then in return, Funk will take him out of the jail with him. Batista agreed to it as soon as he heard him, and also made a plan which was going to calm Tony forever. And for this, he prepared a special drug in which he had mixed poison, and he quietly brought those drugs out of the lab and gave them to Frank. In the evening, Frank was a little nervous and was waiting for Tony to come, and he had kept the drug made by Batista with him, so that whenever Tony comes to meet him, he can silence him by giving him the drug. But unfortunately, Tony did not come alone in the room. There was another partner with him, Tony immediately. He immediately handed over the drug packet to his partner, and Tony already had an evil eye on Lacey, and he took advantage of this opportunity and started teasing Lacey. But Lacey was not one of those who keep quiet like the other prisoners, and he started beating Tony in response to this act. As soon as Tony's partner saw this, he immediately ran away from there out of fear. But despite this hurry, he did not forget to take the drug packet. On the other hand, Tony was so badly beaten that he was not even able to walk, due to which he fell down the stairs as soon as he came out of the cell, due to which he died on the spot. On hearing about the sudden death of her brother, Riza called Frank to meet her in her cell, while on the other hand, Lacey was put in solitary confinement after that incident. Everyone knew that Tony was killed because of his own actions, but no one was ready to say this in front of everyone, and now there was only one eyewitness left, who was Frank, because Tony's partner had also started taking poisonous drugs by then. Due to which, Frank had died, and that is why Ridge wanted to know the whole truth from Frank, that how his brother was murdered. For this, he called Frank to his cell that night, but unfortunately Frank and his companions had also made a plan to escape from the jail that night, which had already started, and by then those locked in different rooms in the jail had started their work with him. On the other hand, Frank was told that his wife had come to meet him, who told him that their daughter died in the hospital early in the morning that day. On hearing this news, Frank was completely broken, and now he did not have any reason to escape from the jail, because he was doing everything only to meet his daughter. After thinking a little, Frank jumped into the pit made in the laundry room, albeit late. Now we reached the same place from where the story started. The night when all these prisoners were running away, and as soon as they reached the air vents, Lenny took out the pipe he had made and started cutting that iron plate. As soon as the plate was removed, the drainage system was now present in front of them, and now they had to crawl through these pipes and reach the river which passed near the jail. After facing a lot of difficulties, finally all of them reached the end of the pig. After reaching here, they came to know that the pig system was closed by a wall, and now they had no way to move forward, and their whole plan was completely ruined. Lenny was very angry at Lacey, and in anger he pushed Lacey against the wall and punched him hard, but Lacey somehow escaped, due to which the punch went straight and hit the wall, and a little part of the wall also fell down, and on seeing this, those people realized that the wall was built some time ago, and they immediately started breaking it. After a few minutes of continuous hard work, they made such a big hole in that wall from which a man could easily come out. Broody had the most experience of these things. That is why he decided to go inside that hole himself and prepare the way ahead, and as soon as he went inside, he started digging fast. But unfortunately, after a few minutes, suddenly a lot of fire fell on him. All the soil fell down and he got buried under it. Frank immediately started digging with his hands to take his friend out, and after working hard for a long time, he finally found Brad's hand. Bree was not fully conscious, but still, he was alive. Now they were moving forward by taking Brad on their shoulders one by one, and after walking for some time, they reached an empty railway station, which meant that they were on the right path. Lacey also tried to help Frank because his leg was bleeding a lot, but despite this, she asked everyone to keep moving forward. But then they heard the sound of some dogs barking, which meant that now the police was searching for them, and now it was a matter of life and death, so they were forced to leave their injured friend Brad behind and move forward. Now there was a small pond in front of them, which was not difficult to cross, but Lenny did not know how to swim, due to which this task became very difficult for him. But despite these problems, they somehow crossed that pond and reached the railway station. They reached the tracks, and now everything was going according to their plan. But then Batista's foot suddenly got stuck in the tracks, and to make things worse, the train was moving fast towards them. Lenny tried to save his partner's life, but due to his efforts, he also came in front of that train. Now only Frank and Lacey were left, who moved aside at the last moment and escaped from the train. After this, both of them came out of the tracks and reached the railway station, where both of them said goodbye to each other for the last time after changing their clothes. And now Frank was on those stairs, which were going to take him to the streets of London City. So, why did Frank escape from the jail? Actually, when he had completely lost courage, he asked Lacey to run in his place, after which he told Lacey everything according to the plan and asked her to run away from there as soon as possible. This is where the story started, where Frank was moving fast towards Ridge's room, where as soon as he reached, he started talking nonsense so that his friends could get more time to escape. Here, Frank made Ridge so angry that in anger, he stabbed Frank, and within a few seconds, the guards also reached there to bandage his wounds, and due to his deteriorating condition, Frank was actually just imagining that he too was escaping from the jail with his companions. But in reality, he had bought time for his friends by risking his life so that they could feel free. At the end of the story, if not in reality, then in his mind, Frank was meeting his daughter on the streets of London, who was somehow alive. No one knows. With this, the story ends. If you liked the video, then like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.